So I want you to imagine just for a second that you have a housing budget of about $725,000.
Which, depending on where you're listening from, that either sounds like an absolute fortune.
Right. Or it sounds like barely enough to cover a tiny starter home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's wild how relative that number is right now.
It really is. And that's exactly what we're getting into today. We're doing a deep dive into this really fascinating 2026 real estate trend.
Yeah, it's a massive shift.
And we're pulling all this from a pretty detailed breakdown by Kara Conde. She's a premier luxury residential advisor based out of Indianapolis.
Right, Indianapolis.
Yeah. And the mission for this deep dive is to basically unpack the stark, honestly, almost unbelievable contrast between what that exact $725,000 budget buys you in Antioch, California versus Fishers, Indiana.
And what's fascinating here is that we aren't just, comparing two random Zillow listings. We're actually analyzing a larger macroeconomic shift.
Yeah.
I mean, families are finally realizing that their location is a variable they can completely control.
Yeah, they aren't stuck.
Right. They're engaging in what economists call geographic arbitrage.
Okay, let's unpack this right away because geographic arbitrage sounds incredibly technical.
It does.
Like we should be staring at a Bloomberg terminal or something.
Yeah, it sounds like Wall Street jargon, but the underlying concept is actually super accessible.
Okay.
So in traditional finance, true arbitrage is just taking advantage of a price difference between two markets, right?
Like buying low and selling high at the exact same time.
Exactly. An investor might buy an asset in market A for $10 and simultaneously sell it in market B for $11.
So they just capture that risk-free profit.
Right. But what we're talking about today is lifestyle arbitrage.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, these families, they aren't trading stocks. The asset they're moving is, it's their own human capital.
Right.
It's their high coastal salaries or, the massive home equity they've managed to build up.
So it's essentially like, it's like geohacking a currency exchange rate, but you aren't even leaving the country.
That's a great way to put it.
You're taking this hyperinflated currency like your Bay Area salary or your California home equity, and you're just spending it in a market where that exact same currency has, what, triple the purchasing power?
That is precisely what is happening.
Yeah.
They're literally exporting their wealth to a value-rich market.
Wow.
And, to really understand the scale of this, we have to look at the physical realities of what that $725,000 actually buys in early 2026.
Let's do that, because we definitely need to anchor ourselves in the raw data before we talk about all the broader lifestyle changes.
Yeah, let's look at the houses first.
Right. So let's look at Antioch, California. For context, it's a suburb in the San Francisco Bay Area. And right now, the median home prices there are hovering around, let's see, $585,000 to $599,000.
Okay.
So if your budget is $725K, you are near the top of the median.
But you're still looking at a pretty modest house.
Exactly. You're getting maybe 1,800 to 2,500 square feet.
Which isn't tiny, but...
But the lot size is typically going to be under 1/4 of an acre.
Right. Which means, functionally, a growing family is totally squeezed.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the kids are sharing a single bathroom. The primary bedroom is basically just large enough for a bed and maybe a dresser.
Yeah, good luck fitting a king-size bed in there.
Seriously. And your home office, especially if you're, a remote tech worker.
Which a lot of these people are.
Right. Your office is probably just a folding desk shoved into the corner of the living room.
With the kids running around behind you on Zoom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the yard is essentially a concrete patio with just enough room for a grill.
Right. Now, you take that exact same budget, that's $725,000, and you drop it into Fishers, Indiana.
Totally different world.
It really is. In Fishers, the overall median home price is much lower, generally between $400,000 and $437,000.
Yeah.
So bringing your budget to the table in that market, it instantly alters your status.
You're not fighting for a starter home anymore.
Right. You are firmly in the luxury segment. It's like taking the exact same budget you'd use for a compact, high-mileage economy car, and instead you go and buy a brand new, fully loaded luxury SUV.
It completely rewrites your daily environment. I mean, the source material from Kara Conde highlights this specific off-market pocket listing in Fishers for exactly $725,000.
Okay.
And the contrast is just jarring. For that same stack of money, you aren't getting 1,800 square feet.
What are you getting?
You're getting roughly 4,400 square feet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Nearly half an acre of land, a dedicated 3-car garage,
That's massive.
modern luxury finishes everywhere, huge open concept layouts, dedicated home offices.
Wait, hold on. Let me just challenge that for a second.
Sure.
Because you mentioned the phrase pocket listing, and Connie talks a lot about her white glove inventory in the sources.
She does, yeah.
If I'm a seller in Indiana, right, and I'm sitting on a beautiful 4,400 square foot luxury property,
Okay.
why on earth would I accept an off-market pocket listing?
Wow.
Wouldn't I make significantly more money by just putting my house on the open market on the MLS and letting a bunch of desperate buyers from California start a massive bidding war?
It seems like that, right?
Yeah, it sounds like a terrible deal for the seller.
Well, this raises an important question about seller psychology, especially when you get into the luxury tier.
Okay, how so?
You have to remember what the public MLS has been like over the last few years. It is chaotic.
True.
For a seller, a public listing means you're hosting open houses every single weekend.
Yeah, cleaning constantly.
Exactly. It means 50 strangers tracking mud through your foyer, touching your furniture.
Right.
And it means dealing with buyers who, might have their financing fall through at the absolute last minute.
Or they demand a dozen trivial repairs after the inspection.
Exactly. So it's about friction. The public market is just incredibly high friction.
Ah, okay. So it's not always just about the highest dollar amount.
No, when you're selling a premium home, privacy and certainty become highly valuable commodities.
That makes sense.
So an off-market pocket listing just means the agent holds the listing in their pocket. The general public never sees it on Zillow.
Okay.
Instead, an advisor like Conde goes to the seller and says, look, I have a fully vetted, highly qualified buyer moving from the Bay Area.
Right.
They have cash or massive equity. They can close in 30 days with zero financing contingencies.
Oh, wow.
So the seller might gladly trade a potential 2 or 3% price bump just to get absolute certainty and zero hassle.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. So for the buyer coming from California, tapping into that white glove inventory means they bypass the bidding war completely. They're using their strong financial position to buy, tranquility in the transaction itself.
Precisely. They're negotiating one-on-one for a premium property. It shifts the whole psychology from desperation to precision.
Okay, so you bypass the chaos and you secure the massive estate. But, let's be real. The walls of the house don't educate your kids.
No, they don't.
They don't keep your car from getting broken into. As nice as the house is, a family doesn't pack up their entire life and move 2,000 miles away from their friends just for a kitchen island.
Right, or a 3-car garage.
Exactly. This move has to be driven by the ecosystem surrounding the house.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, the physical house is really just the lure.
The lure, okay?
The actual hook is the daily data of the community. And according to Conde's analysis, the real drivers pushing these families out of the Bay Area are schools, safety, and compounding savings.
Okay, let's dive into the education piece first. Because I know for the demographic making these moves, the school district is usually the foundational metric.
Oh, absolutely. It's number one.
Yeah. And the data shows Antioch Unified sitting in the average, roughly C+ range.
Right.
But Fishers is zoned for Hamilton Southeastern Schools, which is an A+ district.
A massive difference.
Yeah. It's consistently ranked in the top 10 in all of Indiana, with a graduation rate between 98 and 99%.
And we have to look at the mechanism behind those numbers, too. An A+ district isn't just a shiny plaque on the wall.
Right.
It translates to robust extracurricular programs, vast resources for advanced placement courses, modern facilities.
Things that actually impact the kids?
Exactly. It completely removes that immense psychological burden coastal parents carry regarding their children's, competitive edge for college.
But here's what I don't really understand about that.
What's that?
How is Indiana funding an A+ school district with those kinds of resources, while California is struggling to maintain a C+ average in Antioch? Because we have to look at the tax data, right? California has a massive progressive income tax that can hit 13.3%.
It does.
While Indiana has a flat income tax of just 2.95%. So shouldn't California's massive tax revenue buy vastly superior public services?
That is the great paradox of municipal funding.
Okay.
You're kind of confusing state income tax with local property tax and corporate tax bases.
Ah.
Yeah, state income taxes often go into a massive centralized state apparatus. They fund statewide initiatives, huge pension liabilities, infrastructure across a massive geographic area.
So it just gets spread out.
Exactly. It doesn't necessarily trickle directly down to the Antioch High School chemistry lab.
Okay, so where is Fisher's getting its money then?
Localized economic engines. Fishers has strategically built this booming corporate sector. Yeah, they have a massive concentration of tech, healthcare, and life sciences companies.
Really?
Yeah, and that commercial tax base heavily subsidizes the local school district.
That makes total sense.
Add in the local property taxes on all these luxury housing developments, and you have this heavily localized funding stream that goes straight into the classrooms.
Wow.
And they do it without needing to bleed the middle-class residents dry through a huge state income tax.
That is a brilliant mechanism. So the residents get the benefit of corporate-funded infrastructure, but they keep their own income tax under 3%.
Exactly.
Which leads right into the safety data. And honestly, this is where my jaw genuinely dropped when I was reading the sources.
The crime stats are pretty staggering.
They really are. In Antioch, the violent crime rate is roughly 607 per 100,000 residents,
Okay.
with property crime at about 3,194. Now, shift over to Fishers, which is widely recognized as one of the safest cities in America. The violent crime rate there is about 73 per 100,000.
It is roughly 8 times lower.
8 times lower.
Yeah.
And property crime drops to 659. We aren't just talking about a minor statistical improvement here.
No, it's completely life-changing.
When violent crime drops by a factor of 8, the biological response of your nervous system literally changes.
Yes.
That is the difference between installing multiple Ring cameras, checking your deadbolts twice a night, and hyper-monitoring your kids.
Right.
Versus just letting them ride their bikes down the street to the park without a second thought.
And what's fascinating here is how clients actually describe this. They call it the peace of mind dividend.
Oh, I love that phrase.
Yeah, when you live in an area with a 607 violent crime rate, your brain runs this constant background process of threat assessment.
Absolutely.
There's just a low-level hum of vigilance.
Yeah.
But when families move to Fishers, that hum simply stops. The sudden absence of that ambient anxiety is often reported as the most profound shock of the entire relocation.
I can completely imagine that. The emotional relief must be staggering.
It really is.
But we can't ignore the math that makes this relief possible.
Right. Let's talk about the money.
Let's look at the actual cash flow. The breakdown estimates that a family of 4 moving from Antioch to Fishers saves an estimated $1,500 to $3,000 or more per month in their overall cost of living.
Yeah. Between the massive reduction in housing costs per square foot, the 2.95% flat income tax, lower utilities, cheaper consumer goods, the margins just expand dramatically.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Right.
Because I don't want anyone listening to just gloss over that number. $3,000 a month.
That's a lot of money.
We are so conditioned to think of cost of living savings as like skipping your daily latte or buying generic groceries.
Right. Saving 20 bucks here and there.
Yeah. But saving $3,000 a month is transformative structural cash flow.
Absolutely.
That is $36,000 a year of after-tax money.
And when you project that out over a decade, you are looking at over $250,000 in liquid cash.
Wow.
And that's before you even factor in a single percentage point of compound interest from investments.
Exactly. That is fully funding 529 college savings accounts for multiple children.
Yep.
It is having the ability to make a second mortgage payment every single month to aggressively kill your bet.
Or maxing out your retirement accounts.
You're literally buying back years of your own working life.
This is why the geo-arbitrage concept is so powerful. It shifts a family's reality from merely treading water or feeling house poor in a coastal market to actively building generational wealth.
Right.
They are optimizing their capital rather than just, surrendering it to whatever zip code they happen to live in.
Okay, I'm going to step in and play the heavy skeptic now.
Go for it.
Because if we just look at this math in a vacuum, it sounds like an absolute no-brainer. You get a massive estate instead of a cramped house, A-plus schools instead of C-plus, the violent crime rate essentially disappears, and you save $36,000 a year.
Sounds perfect.
Right. If that is all true, why doesn't literally every single person in Antioch immediately pack a U-Haul and drive to Indiana?
Well,
There has to be a catch. Let's talk about the real-world trade-offs, because it can't all be perfect.
you're absolutely right. There are significant trade-offs, And they go far beyond just the standard talking points about, missing the beach.
Okay.
Yes, the physical environment is a major shift. You are leaving the Pacific Ocean, you're leaving the dramatic topography of the Bay Area, and you're leaving year-round mild weather.
Sure.
Indiana has highly humid summers, and
Yeah.
you will absolutely be dealing with snow and real winters.
Right, but I mean, anyone can buy a snow shovel.
Fair point.
I'm thinking about the deeper systemic risks. For instance, what about the career ceiling?
The job market.
Yeah, a lot of these buyers are tech workers operating remotely for Bay Area companies.
Yeah.
What happens if their company issues a strict return-to-office mandate? If you live in Antioch, you grumble and you commute.
Sure.
But if you live in Fishers, you might be fired. Does Indiana have the corporate infrastructure to absorb senior tech talent if they lose their remote job?
That is the exact risk calculation these families have to make. And it's
Yeah.
actually where Fishers is uniquely positioned compared to a lot of other rural Midwestern towns.
How so?
As we mentioned with the tax base, Fishers isn't just a bedroom community. It has aggressively courted tech, healthcare, and life sciences.
Okay.
So the local job market is surprisingly robust. However, you are correct that a local Fishers salary likely won't match a Bay Area salary.
So they might have to take a pay cut if they lose that remote gig.
They might.
Yeah.
But here is where the math actually provides safety net.
Okay.
Because their foundational cost of living has dropped so dramatically because they are saving that $36,000 a year, they could afford to take a local pay cut and still maintain a higher net standard of living than they had in California.
Oh, that's a really great point. The low overhead is essentially an insurance policy against income shock.
Exactly.
But there is another trade-off we have to address: cultural diversity and the broader social ecosystem.
Right.
The Bay Area is one of the most culturally, intellectually, and socially diverse melting pots on the planet.
It really is.
You are exposed to a global perspective daily. Moving to a wealthy Midwestern suburb is a fundamental shift in the kind of world your kids are growing up in.
It's a massive shift. And this brings us to how families weigh their priorities, which is exactly where a sophisticated advisor like Kara Condé enters the picture.
Okay.
The source material specifically highlights her background. She has over 20 years of real estate experience, but she also holds a computer science background from Oxford University.
Which is wild. You don't usually see Oxford computer science degrees on a real estate billboard.
No, you definitely don't.
How is she actually using that to solve these complex trade-offs for her clients? Is she just really good at using Excel?
It's much deeper than that. Relocating a family across the country requires synthesizing massive, disparate data sets.
Right.
Condé isn't just looking at past sales prices. She is utilizing predictive modeling and data algorithms.
Wow.
She can map out microeconomies within Fishers. She could overlay broadband infrastructure quality, which is critical for those remote tech workers,
Oh, absolutely.
the trajectory of local school funding, and even proximity to pediatric health care.
So she's basically treating the relocation like a systems engineering problem.
Correct.
She's taking the client's anxieties, like the return to office threat or school quality, and using data to find the exact neighborhood in Fishers that statistically mitigates those specific risks.
Precisely. And what her data models and her hundreds of client interactions consistently reveal is a profound shift in human priorities as we age.
Okay, how so?
When you're 25, having immediate access to a vibrant global cultural scene, the ocean, and 70-degree weather might be the dominant variables in your life equation.
Sure, that makes sense.
But when you're 35, with 2 children, a demanding career, and a massive mortgage, the variables change.
The daily friction just grinds you down.
Exactly. The data shows that for these specific buyers, gaining A-plus schools, ensuring their children's physical safety, and entirely eliminating the suffocating pressure of coastal living costs, it heavily outweighs the loss of ocean views and year-round sunshine.
It's a calculated trade.
Right. They are making a data-driven decision to optimize their family's immediate well-being. They will gladly endure a Midwestern winter if it means their kids get a world-class education and they can finally maximize their 401k.
It's the evolution of the household hierarchy of needs.
Well said.
So, bringing this all together, what does this all mean? This deep dive proves that as we look at 2026, the old real estate cliche of location, location, location is dead.
Or at least the definition of a good location has evolved.
Right. It is no longer just about proximity to a bustling downtown or a scenic coastline. It's about systemic optimization.
It's an active rejection of geographic complacency. You no longer have to suffer through an affordability crisis or accept failing schools just because of where your industry happened to be headquartered 20 years ago.
Because remote work changed everything.
Exactly. Remote work infrastructure and emerging tech hubs in the Midwest have decoupled income from geography.
Which means the power is finally back in the hands of the buyer.
Yes.
Trading a financially stressed, hyper-vigilant existence in Antioch for a 4,400 square foot sanctuary in Fishers is not just a real estate transaction.
No, it's so much more.
It is a strategic strike to reclaim your mental health, your physical breathing room, and hundreds of thousands of dollars of your own hard-earned money over the next decade.
It is taking control of the variables you can change to produce the lifestyle outcome you actually want.
Which brings us directly back to you listening to this right now.
Right.
It is worth taking a hard, incredibly objective look at your own daily reality. Where are you feeling this systemic squeeze?
Is it the pit in your stomach when you look at your property tax bill?
Or is it the stress of navigating a mediocre school district for your kids?
Or is it that low-level hum of anxiety when you read your local crime reports?
You have to ask yourself a very blunt question. Is your current zip code providing a high return on investment for the exact lifestyle you want to live today?
Because if the answer is no, the data clearly proves that there are highly optimized markets out there ready to offer you a vastly superior deal.
But that does leave us with one final, kind of provocative thought to chew on.
Oh, absolutely.
We are watching top-tier advisors utilizing Oxford-level data modeling and off-market strategies, successfully funneling thousands of high-earning, high-equity coastal families directly into these value-rich Midwest suburbs.
The arbitrage secret is out.
It is. So if this massive migration of capital continues at its current pace, how long until places like Fishers, Indiana, experience the exact same hyperinflation and affordability crisis that these buyers are currently fleeing from in California?
It's a very real possibility.
You might want to take a serious look at that $725,000 budget on your kitchen table before the math changes all over again.